September 15th against Stephen F. Austin. Eric Morris, their new head coach, spent 5 seasons as Texas Tech's offensive coordinator. Pleasure to be joined by Coach Morris here on stage. First off, Coach, welcome to the Southland Conference. I know you're excited about your new role, and welcome to the Southland Conference Football Media Days here in Houston. Hand it off to you now for some opening remarks.
Well, I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here, number one. Appreciate Mr. Burnett having us here. It's great for our student athletes to be able to come here and enjoy this time with everybody and be on the main stage and be able to tell a little bit about all the hard work they've been putting in. Fortunately, I know a little bit about the conference. The last 2 years at Texas Tech, we had the opportunity to play Stephen F. Austin and Sam Houston, so I know what we're getting into. I mean, 2 really good programs. You add that on top of, McNeese, Nichols, and Central Arkansas, and there's some great coaches and great football programs in this league. So I know we have our work cut out for us. But in my early adult life, I'm not a baseball guy, but I like to think to myself, I've hit 3 home runs in life so far. My first home run was marrying my wife, Maggie. She is way out of my league. My second home run would be having my child, Jack, my son of 2.5 years old. And my third home run would be hiring the staff that I hired at UIW this year. Couldn't be more blessed to be around a great group of guys. As everybody knows, all you coaches out there know it takes an army. It takes a group of guys to really set a culture in, to be able to put their thumbprint on these student athletes each and every day. And so it takes a village, and I was lucky enough to put together a group of 15 guys that are helping us out each and every day of actually building the culture, and that's something that's not easy. As coaches, we like to talk about the culture all the time, changing the culture, and how do you do there? And everybody has a ton of ideas how to get there, but first and foremost, you got to create relationships with these players. So we had the challenge of coming in to about 70 student athletes. We didn't recruit these guys, didn't know them from Adam, and first off, we did a great job of building relationships with these kids, and allowing us to trust them and them to trust us, and vice versa. So that's one thing that our coaches have done a fantastic job of so far. A bunch of people have asked me over the course of the last 6 months, what are your expectations? How are you going to get there? What do you think about next year? And to be honest with you, I haven't even thought about that as a coach. We're focusing on the little things in our program and with our student athletes. And we're teaching these kids how to manage their time. They're under demand restrictions, and we have to teach these guys how to be good students in the classroom first and foremost. So something I'm very proud of as a head coach is our GPA last year as a team was a 2.2 when I got there. We've raised that to a 3.0 in our first semester this spring as a staff there, something that I'm really proud of. And also teaching these kids responsibility right now, and there's great responsibility, but if you're not accountable to your team and you're not responsible, then there's always repercussions. And so these kids will probably tell you we've had a couple 5:30, 6 a.m. runs because guys weren't handling their business in the classroom or on the field. And so, I've always believed that football is the greatest team sport in America, and it's such an interesting dynamic for us as coaches to bring 105 players together that are all different from different economical backgrounds. Some are poor, some are middle class, some are rich. Different races, and you put them all in a locker room together, and we have to find a way to get these kids to love each other and get a way to find these kids to have a purpose, understand what their purpose is in life and on this team, and if we can get them all moving the same direction and fighting together, that's been some of the greatest teams I've ever been a part of. And some of the greatest teams I've been a part of were not always the most talented. And so that's something that we're working hard on right now, is to build that chemistry in the locker room and to have these guys focus on the little things each and every day. And when you get really good at doing all these little things well, I think that's when you develop to have a great team, and these kids will go out on Saturday afternoon and fight for one another. So moving on a little bit, I mean, we have to find the importance of a cause beyond ourselves, of these kids. They can't be selfish. No me attitude. We have to think about the team all the time and what's their purpose in life and what's their purpose on this team. So we're working hard on that, we're working hard on that right now. These kids have done a phenomenal job of buying in to what we're selling. Our coaches have worked extremely hard of it. Coach Deason, our defensive coordinator, has done a fantastic job over there on the defensive side. Coach Krill, our offensive coordinator, same thing, and Coach Lechtenberg, our special teams. So we'll have a quarterback battle this year on offense. Nothing set in stone. We have Sean Brophy that's back that played a little bit last year, and there's about 3 other guys that are in the mix for that position right now. Offensive line, we have 4 of the 5 back. Excited what they're bringing. We'll try a balanced attack this year, try to run the ball and throw the ball about 50% of the time each. Defensively, we're looking for depth right now. Really like where our back end is, the first 4, but we need to find some depth on the defensive side of the ball. Same thing at defensive line. We have about 3 or 4 guys that we're confident in, and some of these guys that we brought in over the last couple months need to come in and play a vital role as backups for us. Linebackers, probably one of the strongest positions on our team. We got Silas Stewart back and Markel Cooks and Wes Lambert. So really look for big things from our linebacker position this year. So really grateful to be here. Excited to lead this program into the 2018 season. And with that, we'll move on to the question.
All right. If you have any questions for Coach Morris, just raise your hand, and we'll get a microphone to you and just state your name and affiliation. I'll start it off with you, Coach. Last 5 seasons you've been at Texas Tech. Tell us what prepared you during that experience to now become a head coach and get this opportunity at UIW.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I thought I was more prepared than I was. The things that have come across my desk the last 6 months, I mean, I don't think you really understand it until you're sitting in that seat. And so, like I said, I've bounced a ton of ideas off of different coaches. I was blessed enough, when I was a player at Texas Tech, Lincoln Riley was a GA, Seth Luttrell was our running backs coach after Art Browse had just left. Ruffin McNeil was our special teams coordinator. Dana Holgerson was my inside receivers coach, and Sonny Dykes was my outside receivers coach, and Mike Leach is still a good friend of mine. So needless to say, I've used my phone a lot. I've reached out to those guys when things come up and when I need some answers about certain stuff. So I've been blessed to be in that position to be able to reach out and get ideas from different head coaches.
All right, we have a question in the back. State your name and affiliation.
Aaron Cantu, UIWCardinals.com. Coach Morris, what's been your early assessment of the team taking over in the spring? What are some of the strengths you've identified? And talk about some of the things you want to improve on.
Yeah, well, I think you always want to improve. The first thing that I would say is I think our mental toughness has increased dramatically since the day one when we stepped foot on campus. I don't think these kids knew how they could push their limits on the field, how they have more in the tank always. And so our strength coach has done a phenomenal job at taking it to their breaking points. And then, there's always that little guy on your shoulder when you're working out in 120-degree heat in San Antonio telling you to stop. And, I think these guys have pulled together and pushed through and got through some tough situations. So I think that'll help us down the road when we get in some of those tight ball games that we might have lost last year, that we'll be able to pull together as a team and hopefully win a couple of them.
Coach, talk about your mentality offensively. What is the foundation your offense is built on, and what is kind of the message going into the season, to your offense?
Yeah, just respect everyone and fear no one. Something that we go off every single day. We're going to go into that first game at New Mexico, and we're going to respect them because they're a great team and have a great coaching staff and had a great year last year. But we won't fear them, I promise you. We're going to step on the field each and every time with the belief that we can win the ball game, and we're going to attack defenses offensively. I mean, it's what we've done forever in this offense. One thing I think you'll see a little bit different is we're going to try a little bit more balanced attack. I think we're going to try to run the ball a little bit more than what we have the past 5 years at Texas Tech, and really try to establish a run game and then build some play action and stuff down the field off of it.
Last thing from me, Coach. How does the fact that you are 32 years old, you have some youth to you, how does that influence your team, your players in a positive way?
Energy. I think we always have energy on the practice field. Music's playing. I'm not afraid to get out there and run around with them and bring some energy myself. But yeah, I think my youth, we get over some of the stuff with some of the older guys on staff, and they've helped me through a lot of different situations. I always ask a lot of questions to my staff because they're really smart people. That's the reason I hired them. So bouncing ideas off of them and just trying to come together as a group and find the best way. And that might not always be my way. We might need to do it a different way than what I'm used to, and so we make some changes time to time on stuff that my staff thinks important.
All right, another question up front here.
Coach Dave Nelson, UIW Sports Information Office. Tell us a little bit about the air raid offense and what are Cardinal fans going to see this year that they haven't seen in the past?
Yeah, it was built on just taking what the defense gives you. So we give the quarterback probably a little bit more freedom than most programs around the country. So it's important that our quarterbacks are in the film room studying and understand defense like the coaches do. And so, I think that we're going to allow the defense to line up. We're going to see how they line up, and then we're going to take what they give us, whether that's the run, whether that's the pass, and if I call a play that's not very good and the quarterback doesn't like it, then he has 100% ability to check out at any given time. So.
We have a question over here.
Coach Chris Mikoski, Southland Digital Network. You obviously walk into a fertile recruiting ground there in San Antonio in Central Texas. I assume that was a huge reason why you thought this would be a home run of a job.
Yeah, no doubt. I've been recruiting the Central Texas area for about 5 years now when I was at Texas Tech, and I've always thought I was a little bit under-recruited there. I had 4 starters last year on our offense at Tech that were from Cibolo Still High School, and so right in the San Antonio area. So I've spent a lot of time there. There weren't people going to the Central Texas area like they were going to Houston, like they were going to Dallas and Texas. And so, we're trying to do a really good job at really covering that Central Texas area. I think we signed 4 kids from it this year and look to move that up to, 7 or 8 kids each and every year from our own area.
Talk a little bit about, the facilities there at UIW. As a coach, when you come in and you look at the whole program and the whole university as a whole, but how about the changes there as you look, and following up on Chris's question, what it means for recruiting when they come in and see the changes to your stadium and just the upgrades you guys are trying to make there?
Yeah, our president and athletic director have done a phenomenal job of going out and raising money for us, and so they're making changes and making them rapidly. So we're fired up. The kids really enjoy the new turf that we got, first ever camo end zones. It looks beautiful.
We're seeing some video of it right now. That's outstanding.
Yeah, it'll really pop on TV. The old turf when I first got there was a little bit hard, had a couple tears in it, and I thought it was a safety issue. So, I think the kids are fired up. They love it. The only time they don't love it is about 2 p.m. when we're doing team runs, and it's 135 degrees on that turf. So, but looks great, and our administration's doing a great job of raising money for us.
I want to follow up, and I asked you about your time last 5 years at Texas Tech. You also spent time at Washington State with Mike Leach, at the University of Houston under Kevin Sumlin. All those experiences, and again, you're 32 years old. You've been making the rounds, gathering that experience. What has that meant to be able to work under guys like that, especially from an offensive mindset?
Yeah, it's been amazing. And I've taken a ton of notes over the course of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And, things I liked and things I didn't like. And so, try to draw a little bit from each one of them, the things I like, and kind of put that together in my program. And the good thing is I have a great relationship with all of them. And so they've helped me through this process when certain instances have come up.
Another question from Chris.
Sure, and Coach, we're going to hear from your two student athletes here shortly. Tell me about why Terrence and Jamarquise were the two you wanted to represent this program, because obviously it's a big honor for two young men to represent their school at this media day.
Yeah, they both represent where we want this program to go. Two guys that have been in our program for, one for 3 and one for almost 5, and guys that have been leaders for us throughout this whole entire coaching change, guys that have never complained, guys that have never been on lists for doing things in the classroom, guys that are setting an example for all of our young guys on this is how we're going to build a winning program, and that's doing the little things right each and every day. And so both these guys exemplify what we want all of our student athletes to look like in the future coming through our program. Guys that are going to have their degrees in less than 4 years, which is really important to us. And so guys that take things seriously each and every day. And I can promise you when these guys are done playing football, they're both going to be really successful men out in our society, which is something that we take a great deal of pride in.
Another question in the back.
Coach, what are some of the things you learned as a player that help you specifically now as a coach?
Yeah, well, I was an overachiever, I'll tell you that. I'm 5'8" receiver in the Big 12. Wasn't the fastest, wasn't the biggest. But one thing I prided myself in is I thought I was the toughest player out there. And so just bringing that mindset each and every day there's probably some players that I played in front of that were better athletes than me, but didn't have the physical and mental toughness that I had to bring it each and every day to put a good product on the field. So yeah, I think just if we can take that mindset and use it, apply it as a team, then we're going to win some more games this year.
Before we toss it over to Lincoln, one other question. When you come in, Coach, to a new program, your first head coaching experience, and it's a program that was down when you look at the numbers, the wins and the losses, what's your first message to the guys? What'd you tell the guys the day you stepped on campus?
Oh, I told them a lot the first day I stepped on campus. But no, just like every coach says, and it's cliche, and that it's not easy, that all these other teams are doing the same thing in the summer that we're doing, and in some way, somehow, we've got to find an edge that sets us apart. And so, the first thing that I wanted to do is somehow build some team chemistry so that these guys were willing to go out on the field together and put their bodies on the line for one another, and which is not an easy thing to do. And I really believe that if you love the guy next to you, then you're more apt to go out there and fight a little bit harder for him. So us just trying to build a culture where these kids have a purpose, not only for themselves but for one another, and that we can create a chemistry that when we come together on Saturdays that we're going to go to war together, and they're going to have to drag us off that field at the end because we're going to fight together till the end.
Right here, evidence of the talent in Central and South Texas, guys from Temple High School as well as Converse Judson. And again, Coach Moore seems to be on the right track with where he has his target set in the Lone Star State.
Absolutely. Great interview there with Lincoln, and you can tell your guys are excited to start this new venture, new season around the corner. Follow up on recruiting. You've been recruiting this state for many years at Texas Tech. When you jump into a UIW in a hotbed of San Antonio, you're nearby to Houston, not far from Dallas. What does that mean to you as a head coach and for your staff?
Yeah, I just think we have to do a great job of going out and finding the kids, and not based off of stars or anything like that. But we've had great success even at Texas Tech with some guys that were under the radar. Patrick Mahomes had 0 offers. So I think first you got to hire a staff that has a good eye for talent, and we got to do a great job of recruiting them. Then we have to do a great job of developing them after that, and then the third piece is retaining them. So I tell my coaches all the time, we got to recruit, we got to develop, and we got to retain, and we'll be able to build a good program over the course of time. When you built your staff, what were you looking for in guys that you wanted to bring on board? You've got Cody Creel, your offensive coordinator, Justin's your defensive coordinator, a great staff in place, but that's a big challenge as a new head coach, isn't it? Yeah, and too, I wanted a diverse staff. So Cody was a head coach at the junior college level, had a ton of success. Coach Deason came over from the national championship at Texas A&M Commerce Division II. Hired a couple guys that came with me from Texas Tech. Hired some successful high school head coaches that knew the high school game around Texas. And so, I really wanted to get guys from different levels that were successful at all those levels, that had great ideas. We have a very open staff room where all ideas are welcome, just because, I hired them for a reason. They're all really smart individuals. And so I draw great ideas from all of them.
All right, let's talk about your schedule now for this new season. A couple of games on the road as we take a look at it on the screen. At New Mexico, at North Texas to get it started before your conference opener with Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, and two really challenging opponents. Going to New Mexico, who had a good year, who's done great things under Coach Bob Davies. And then the second week I get to go play my old college quarterback, Graham Harrell, who's calling the offense, done a great job over there at North Texas. Seth Luttrell's a great friend of mine. They have everybody back. We'll have a great squad. So we'll get tested early. I mean, we'll know what we have before we step on the field against Stephen F. Austin for that conference opener. And it'll be another challenge for us. But those first two games will really let me know where we're at as a ball club and what we needed to improve on in a hurry.
Talk a little bit about what you knew about the Southland Conference. I know at Texas Tech, you guys played a couple of Southland Conference teams, but as far as the reputation and in the coaching world, what were you hearing, what were you seeing, and now that you're in it, you know what it's all about?
Yeah, well, our first year at Texas Tech, we played UCA. They came to our place, had a great defensive end that I think still playing in the NFL right now. That had 4 or 5 sacks against us, but it was a 7-point ball game at halftime, and really that's why I was like, where are they coming from? So they've done a great job of building that program over there at UCA, and then the last 2 years, having the ability to watch Stephen F. Austin and Sam Houston on film quite a bit. Great programs with great coaches, and so somebody that I've studied over the course of years. At Sam Houston, the last 5 years, they've been putting up some gaudy numbers, and in the offseason, I've actually gone back and studied what they're doing there. So, we'll have it cut out for us. Great conference with a bunch of storied programs, and hopefully we can just get in there and compete with them.
Now that you're leading a program, your first head coaching position in your career, what's been the most exciting thing since you stepped foot on campus? I know you mentioned earlier that a lot of the challenges that maybe you thought you were prepared for, but what have you enjoyed the most as being the guy to lead this UIW program?
Yeah, I think just setting my own schedule, and then the staff meeting every day is built off when I want it to be built off of. So, no, it's been fun. It's been fun to. I've really got a bunch of enjoyment out of things that don't deal with football, and having the ability to really teach these young men the importance of having responsibility, of having high character, and then you've seen those things come to fruition, and you see their GPA jump, and you see them doing great things off the field as well as on the field. You get emails from professors about how respectful they are. You get emails from women on campus that our student athletes are treating women the right way with a lot of respect. I mean, that stuff really means a lot to me and makes me proud.
All right, you guys start practice here shortly. Give us the information. You start when, and what do you want to see in that first week of practice as you get on the field and work with these guys? Well,
hopefully it's not too hot and none of the kids go into full body cramps. But no, we moved our practices to the morning. It's one thing that I figured out there in a hurry, that the South Texas heat is a lot different than it was in Lubbock. So we're going to practice in the morning the majority of the time to try to keep these guys' legs underneath them, keep them fresh while we're getting a ton of reps in. We have 30 new guys coming in to join our team this year, and so they'll need a lot of reps there early in camp, because we're gonna depend on them to contribute this year. So we just have to find that line at getting all the reps we need necessary with keeping our legs under us, because we're gonna need to be fresh for that first game against New Mexico.
All right, Eric Morris, new head coach at UIW. Congratulations on the job. Welcome to the Southland Conference. Good luck this season. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
All right, we're going to take a break here on ESPN3. When we come back, Southland Conference Football Media Day continues. When we return in 3 minutes, we'll hear from the Bears from Central Arkansas and their head coach, Nathan Brown. We're coming right back.